Where do you stand on the whole fans should be quiet for the haka, quiet during kicks and all of that sort of stuff? Do you think rugby takes itself a little bit too seriously sometimes, is a bit precious? Because since last weekend, there has been quite a lot of talk of disrespect. Well, in particular, from one quite prominent rugby voice.
No, I just don't feel that it's respectful. And I feel that it actually negated England's response to the haka, which I thought was awesome. You know, the way they formed, that shape that they did, they advanced forward and actually respected and not challenged, but responded to the haka in their manner. But there's the reverberations of swing low being sung around the stadium. You couldn't hear the haka.
Mm.
What do they think they're doing? They're not affecting the All Blacks.
No.
So what do you think of that? Let me know. Put your comments down below. Give the video a thumbs up, hit subscribe. I genuinely just want to start a conversation. I'm not looking to bash anyone for it. I just want to, that's one opinion, which is perfectly valid. And I want to give my opinion on this. I was there at the stadium, like Justin Marshall. I was sat there. Obviously, I'm an Englishman. He's a Kiwi. So we come at it from a different perspective from that angle. But I think we both love our rugby. And that's fundamentally where I'm coming from on this. And I was sat there, and I always try and be as impartial as I possibly can, but I recognise I have a bias. I am an Englishman. My read of that particular situation was I agree that the English response to the haka was ace, forming that little V shape or horseshoe shape, whatever you want to call it. And it was a cool response. And my honest reading of the situation was that the English crowd were more than anything responding to their team, not to New Zealand. And it was almost like, it felt to me like the crowd saw their team's response and wanted to back the boys. And so started singing. And I guess the point is there were 80-odd thousand people at Twickenham at the weekend. And it's one of the magic things about live sport, same as live music or any situation where you're in a big crowd, is you're there and you're in the moment and there's an energy that's captured by those individuals in that space at that moment, watching that event, and you cannot predict and shouldn't try and control what happens, because the organic way that these things unfold is really cool. And I'd just say, just chill out and enjoy it. There'll be a silent haka next week. There'll be a different one the following week. Just enjoy the rich tapestry of all the different personalities you get at different rugby grounds, and stop trying to squeeze everything into an identikit shape, one size fits all, and just kind of relax and enjoy it a little bit more. We know what disrespect looks like. We know what is beyond the pale and what is unacceptable. And I mean, some people could argue that the the most unacceptable part of that whole haka wasn't the crowd. It was Henry Pollock licking his lips like that. Some people might have found that quite unsettling. I'm joking, of course. Henry Pollock should be able to do whatever he wants to do, like any other player should be able to do what they want to do. And I just think this is another example of rugby just beating itself up. Like, honestly, if you're not a rugby fan, the number of stories that would be served up to you where it's people inside rugby complaining about its own sport, I don't understand it. Now, I will also, just to be absolutely fair and try and be balanced, one of the coolest hakas that there has been in recent memory was the one last year in the November Test Series in Paris, under the spotlights, an incredible live show and total silence from a French crowd. And it's ironic, isn't it? I'm talking about the French crowd and their silence through the haka, given that only a couple of weeks ago, another game I feel very fortunate to have been at, France against South Africa, the French crowd were criticised for booing Sacha Feinberg and Goma Zulu's kicks. Something which, again, I would embrace as a crowd just being passionate in the moment and creating a great event. And I mean, that's my perspective, but it also happens to be the perspective of Sasha Feinberg and Gomezulu himself.
Yeah, man, these type of things are rugby needs it. Man.
Yeah,
Football's got it. Rugby needs hostile environments, proud and loud crowds. That's what makes historic games like that.
And you can add that to the very, very long list of reasons why I have a lot of time for Sasha FM. Well said. And, you know, different stadiums have different personalities. In France, culturally, if you watch the top 14, it is quite normal for crowds to get really loud during goal kickers' kicks. Actually, I would argue that it's scarier, more intimidating, having total silence for a kick, personally. But some French stadiums do that as well. Every stadium has its own personality. Just take Vannes, for example, in Brittany. Check out how silent they are.
Le silence, comme en Irlande, le respect absolu du buteur adverse.
And this is the point. Let's embrace the different personalities. I think we do this with individuals as well. We try and squeeze all the personality out of rugby stars and make them all the same. When that tall poppy syndrome, whenever someone's a bit different or a bit interesting or does something out of the ordinary, people like to cut them down. And two examples, and again, I'll speak from an English perspective as we're talking about the English crowd at Twickenham in this example. Let me talk about two Englishmen that are very, very different, and both got so much stick for their natural personality. Owen Farrell and Henry Pollock. Owen Farrell could not be more private. He didn't like the media at all, didn't want to make anything about him, but he was an absolute, and is an absolute, like, extreme level of competitiveness. And that drives him. And that makes him come across to some people as grumpy. And they complain about Owen Farrell being the personality he is. And then you have Henry Pollock, equally as competitive, but that manifests itself in a different way. And people are now complaining about him, and have done, or he shouldn't be doing those celebrations, or all of this stuff. Just let them be themselves. Let them be interesting. Let them be different. And it's the same with stadiums. I've just mentioned the same crowd in Paris can be completely silent for a haka and can boo a kicker. Go with it. England can be silent for kickers and can sing a song over a haka. Go with it. Enjoy it. I've been lucky enough to go to lots of rugby grounds over the last year or two. And I'm just thinking of examples. Dublin last year. In fact, Dublin this weekend against South Africa. I can tell you won't be able to hear a pin drop for every goal kick. It's amazing about Dublin. But by the same token, you speak to Irish fans and they wish there was a little bit more noise at other times in the games because they worry that there's too many corporate tickets being given out and that affects the atmosphere in the Aviva Stadium. So swings and roundabouts. When I think about my trip to South Africa last year, oh my goodness, Pretoria, so hostile, and that made it so much fun. It felt like there was a real edge in the air. And you compare that to, it was a week later, watching South Africa against Ireland in Durban, where it was just party central. Everyone's so laid back. Yes, like, if Ireland had scored the winning drop goal in the game in Pretoria, it would have felt edgy. As it is in Durban, everyone went, all right, let's get some drinks in. Where's the Brannus? Let's have a party. It's just a very different vibe. Marseille in France, possibly the loudest stadium I've ever been in. And they will boo and whistle and heckle. But how much fun is the noise in that stadium? And I just think rugby can get stuck in tradition. Look, I'm all for respect. I'm all for rugby values. I've said it on a video recently. A lot of people, sort of think the whole rugby values thing is absolute rubbish. And I stand for the core rugby values. But this is why I don't think it's a problem what happened at Twickenham last week, because I just don't think it was disrespect. I think it was done with respect and with passion, not to kind of do anything negative towards the haka. And the New Zealand players recognised that, and Bowden Barrett, in fact, said he really liked it. He really liked the England fans singing the song. I do just want to point out one thing which I find quite funny and ironic. In this same discussion about the disrespect by England fans towards the Haka was this description of England fans.
Yeah.
But instead, you've got Rupert on one side and Archie and Sebastian in front of you singing Swing Low, Sweet Chariot.
So, right, yeah, England fans are the disrespectful ones, yeah, but painting all England fans with a stereotypical brush, calling them all Rupert, Archie and Sebastian, that's fine, isn't it? Now, I don't mind that description. Go for it. Take the piss out of England fans. Talk about Barber jackets and mustard-coloured chinos, whatever. But don't then clutch your pearls about the Haka. Come on. I'm also just got to fact-check Justin Marshall for a second.
It's the only stadium. Only stadium in the world where people do that. Sing over the Haka. Or, make noise or jeer or boo. No other stadium in the world do it.
Only stadium in the world, is it? Okay. Well, I was at South Africa against New Zealand last year in Johannesburg. This is footage from my phone. Oh my goodness. Whoa, whoa, That Haka was amazing. The energy in that stadium on that day felt brilliant. Take it from me. I mean, they messed up the timing arrival of the flight overhead, and maybe playing Sister Bettina. In the meantime, maybe playing that over the top of the Haka. They might not have done that, but it was so memorable, and the crowd were absolutely loving it and not being disrespectful in the slightest.
I think Ellis Park, the All Blacks game last year was something similar, but it's just obviously when it's your home crowd, it's a bit different. So, but yeah, that was one hell of an experience, special one. I think win or lose, that would have been a great memory.
Another fact check on Justin Marshall.
So England came, and the All Blacks came, and that was the closest those two teams have ever been to each other.
Well, you have to go back some time, but do you remember this?
Here's something to make your hair stand on end. It's the Haka.
I just thought, well, I'm going to find Norm. I'm going to stand opposite him, and come on, mate, let's have a go. A bit of red mist and a bit of aggression, and come on, let's take it to them. The Maori boys were fine with it, because that's their culture. That's what they're very confrontational. They're very big, strong, physical people. It's a war dance after all, isn't it? It's a challenge. They want to smash you, you want to smash them. Great, you want to take us on, let's have a crack. Because it just sort of happened. I think the Haka's a great thing. I think it embodies what the Kiwis are about, and it obviously has a deep meaning for them, culturally for them, and I think it's fantastic.
That moment was pure theatre. It was incredible. And then you think also of the 2007 Rugby World Cup quarter-final between France and New Zealand as well. One of the most iconic Hakas ever. Absolutely love that. And wouldn't you like more of that from time to time? And this is one of the things I would say. I'll broaden the conversation out here a little bit. We've lost moments like that because World Rugby came in and have given this rule about 20 metres apart and you must stay there. And do you remember, because Joe Marler in the World Cup semi-final in 2019 went half a metre over the halfway line, England got whatever the fine was, thousands of pounds fine for that, which is just pearl clutching and precious. completely, you don't need to meddle with it. And actually, I'm not saying every Haka I want to have them face to face, but why not on special occasions? Why not give teams the opportunity to respond how they want to respond? I don't understand why we've sanitized it so much by making sure you must stand 20 meters apart. Otherwise, you'll be in trouble. Like these players, immediately after the Haka, go out on the pitch and they whack 7 bells out of each other, but they keep it within the laws of rugby. You hardly ever see punches or kicks or stamps or anything like that anymore. And that speaks to the fact that these players go out there and play the game with honour and with respect. You don't need rules to keep them in check. They will control themselves. Let the guy, if they want to stand in the face of the Haka, if New Zealand want to go right up in their face, let them do it. They're not going to start a big brawl because they respect each other and they respect the game. And I just think that rugby has got a bit too sanitised. And I talked about this following the Franco Mostert red card last week in my video last weekend, where I said World Rugby has actually spent, and rugby generally, has spent years apologising for the fact rugby is a dangerous game, rather than flipping that round and celebrating the fact that rugby builds discipline and requires bravery and amazing qualities. And I just think rugby should stop talking itself down and should start actually flipping it round and sharing the kind of positive side of things. Like, again, the positive angle from the Haka last weekend was, what an amazing atmosphere. What a respectful response. What a brilliant crowd where New Zealanders and English fans were sat next to each other. And after the game, they went and had a beer for hours. You do not get that in many other sports. And it's really special. And I'd rather we were focusing on that than on this. Because I think this, honestly, is a non-story. Let me know what you think. I'll be interested.